A machine is hanging on the side of a chemical storage tank. No ropes, no scaffolding, no safety harness. It is stuck to a sheer vertical steel wall several stories off the ground, and it is welding. One arm holds the torch and lays a clean bead of metal. The other arm scans the scene for flaws at the exact same time. There is no human anywhere near it. This is not a render. It is not a concept video from a company that has never shipped a product. This is a real robot, built by a real company in eastern China that has already been put to work on an actual construction site. And the job it is doing is one that the engineering world spent decades treating as something close to impossible for a free climbing machine to pull off. That company is called Robot++. And before you scroll past this thinking it is just another flashy clip that goes nowhere, stick with me, because the story behind this machine, how it sticks to the wall, how a person controls it from a chair in an air-conditioned room, and why it matters far beyond one chemical plant, is genuinely worth your next few minutes. If you find this kind of thing fascinating, hit like and subscribe so you do not miss what comes next, because this is moving faster than almost anyone outside the industry realizes. Here is where we are going. First, we are going to stand on that wall and understand exactly why this specific job has killed and injured workers for as long as the job has existed. Then we are going to take the robot apart and look at how it actually works, the part that made the rest of the industry sit up. And then we are going to zoom out, because this one robot is the visible tip of something much larger that an entire country has decided to build on purpose. By the end of this video, the phrase dangerous job is going to mean something a little different to you. Let's start on the wall. The job that nobody wants. Picture the inside of a chemical plant or a shipyard. There are enormous steel tanks and hulls, curved walls of metal that rise dozens of feet into the air. Those walls have to be welded together, inspected for cracks, stripped of rust, and coated. None of that work can be done from the ground. Someone has to get up there. For 100 years, the answer was a person. A welder gets strapped into a harness, hauled up on ropes or a swing stage, and left hanging in midair with a torch in one hand. Up there, the conditions are brutal in a way that is hard to appreciate from the ground. The founder of Robot++, a man named Su Huayong, described the old reality bluntly. He said that previously, workers would hang in midair for hours, battered by wind and sun, choking on dust. Sit with that for a second. Hours suspended in the air. Wind pushing you around while you are trying to hold a torch steady enough to lay a precise weld. Sun cooking you against a metal wall that is already radiating heat. Dust and fumes from grinding and welding filling the air you are breathing, often inside a half-enclosed tank where there is nowhere for any of it to go. And this is not just uncomfortable. It is one of the most dangerous categories of work in heavy industry. You have height, which means falls. You have an open flame and molten metal in an environment that frequently contains flammable residue. You have confined spaces with poor ventilation. You have heavy physical labor performed at the edge of exhaustion. Every one of those is a serious hazard on its own. Stack them on top of each other and you understand why this is the kind of job that companies struggle to fill, and why the people who do it pay for it with their bodies over a career. So for decades, the obvious question was, why not send a machine instead? And here is where the wall, the literal wall, becomes the problem. Why this was supposed to be impossible. Sending a robot up a vertical steel surface to do delicate work runs into two enormous engineering problems that fight each other. The first problem is just staying on the wall. Gravity is constantly trying to peel the machine off and drop it. Whatever holds it up has to be incredibly strong and incredibly reliable, because a single failure means the entire machine becomes a falling object. Climbing robots have existed for years, but most of them were lightweight crawlers built to do one simple thing, like roll along and take photographs or thickness readings. They were designed to be feather-light precisely because the lighter you are, the easier you are to hold against a wall. The second problem is the actual work. Welding is not a gentle task. Grinding rust off steel is not gentle either. These jobs involve force, vibration, heat, and recoil. To weld a clean seam, you need a stable, heavy, steady platform, the exact opposite of a light crawler. The torch has to be held with precision while the arm pushes against the metal and reacts to the forces coming back. So you have a contradiction. To hold the wall you want light. To do the work you want heavy and strong. For a long time, the realistic conclusion was that you could have a climbing robot or you could have a welding robot, but you could not have one machine that climbed a vertical wall and did skilled, forceful, precise work up there at the same time. The two requirements seemed to cancel each other out. That is the wall this technology kept hitting. Not the steel one, the engineering one. What Robot++ actually built. So how did they get around a contradiction that had blocked everyone else? Start with the weight. This robot weighs around 90 kilograms, which is just under 200 pounds. That is heavy. That is the weight of a large adult man, hanging off the side of a tank. They did not try to win by going light. They went the other direction and built something with enough mass to do real work, and then solved the problem of holding all that mass to the wall. The lower half of the machine is a wheeled chassis that grips the steel using electromagnetic adhesion. In plain terms, it uses powerful magnetism to clamp itself onto any metal surface, and it rolls along on wheels while it stays stuck. The grip is strong enough that the machine can hold its own weight plus extra load and still move steadily across the wall without slipping. That solves problem one. The platform is stable, and it is not going anywhere. Then on top of that rolling magnetic base, they put a humanoid upper body. 2 arms, built with 15 degrees of freedom, which is a way of saying the joints can move and rotate in enough independent directions to mimic the flexibility of a human worker's shoulders, elbows, and wrists. That flexibility is what lets it actually do skilled work in awkward positions instead of just moving in straight lines. And the arms are interchangeable at the ends. By swapping out what engineers call the end effector, the tool on the end of the arm, the same robot can switch between completely different jobs. It can weld. It can scan for flaws, which is the inspection step that catches cracks before they become disasters. It can strip rust. It can spray coatings and do surface treatment. One platform, many jobs, by changing the tool the way you would change a drill bit. Now here is the detail that genuinely made people in the field pay attention. Because it has 2 arms, it can do 2 of those jobs at once. It can grind a surface with one hand while it welds with the other. A human can hold one tool. This thing holds 2 and coordinates both on a vertical wall, several stories in the air. And it never has to stop to recharge because it does not run on a battery. It is powered through a cable, which means it can work continuously without the downtime that drains so much productivity out of battery-powered machines. No swapping packs, no waiting, no sudden death halfway through a weld. So that is the body. But a body is not the breakthrough. Plenty of companies can build impressive hardware. The part that turns this from a remote control toy into something far more important is how it is run and what is learning inside it. The person in the cool room and the brain on the wall. Remember the old picture. A welder hanging in the wind and the dust for hours. Here is the new picture in Sue's own description. An operator sits in a cool control room, wearing VR glasses. The operator simply moves a wrist, and the robot on the wall mirrors the action with millisecond-level response. Think about what that swap actually means. The dangerous part of the job, being up on the wall, is now done by a machine that cannot fall to its death, cannot get heat stroke, and does not have lungs to fill with dust. The human part of the job, the skill and judgment of an experienced welder, is preserved, but it has been moved into a safe chair indoors. The person still controls the precision work. They have just been pulled out of the place that was trying to kill them. The skill stays. The risk goes away. But the most forward-looking piece of this is not the remote control. It is what Robot++ calls the brain. The company built a large-scale AI model trained specifically for these kinds of special operations, this high-risk industrial work on walls and hulls and tanks. And according to the company, it is the most data-rich model of its kind in China, because every single time the robot does a job, that job becomes training data. The machine has already racked up more than 100,000 hours of operational time. To put a strange and almost poetic number on it, across all its work the robot has traveled a distance equal to more than half the way around the entire planet, all of it crawling across walls. Sue describes the logic as operation as collection. Every high-altitude operation is a data sample, and every batch of that data feeds directly back into improving the model. So the robot is not a fixed tool that does exactly what it did on day 1 forever. It is a system that gets better at the work the more work it does. Every weld it lays, every flaw it catches, every wall it crosses makes the next one a little smarter. That is the difference between a machine and a learning machine, And it is the whole reason the rest of the industry is watching this so closely. Now, this is the moment to be honest with you, because I promised you the real picture and not a sales pitch. What this robot is and is not. This is a deployed, working machine. It was shown doing real work at the construction site of a large chemical storage tank, not in a lab demo. That part is solid. It has been reported by China's major state news outlets, including Xinhua and CGTN, and picked up internationally. But let's be clear about scale. This is the early chapter, not the final one. A single advanced robot, or a small number of them, working on specific sites is a very different thing from a fleet that has replaced this kind of dangerous labor across an entire industry. Teleoperations still requires a skilled human operator for the hardest tasks, which means it is augmenting and protecting expert workers right now more than it is fully replacing them. And while the company's claims about its data advantage are impressive, claims made by a company about its own product always deserve to be checked against independent results over time. So the honest summary is this. The hard engineering problem, the one that supposedly could not be solved, a heavy machine that climbs a vertical wall and does skilled, forceful, precise work up there, has been solved and put into the real world. What happens next is a question of how fast it scales and how widely it spreads. And that is exactly where the story gets bigger than one robot. This was never just about one machine. Because Robot++ is not some lone startup that happened to crack a hard problem in isolation. It is one piece of something a whole country is building on purpose. And once you see the bigger frame, the wall-climbing welder stops looking like a novelty and starts looking like a signal. This category of technology has a name. It is called Embodied AI. The simplest way to understand it is this. For the last few years, the AI revolution has mostly lived on screens. It writes, it answers, it generates images, but it has no hands. Embodied AI is the push to put that intelligence into a physical body that can move through the real world and change it. A welding arm on a tank wall is embodied AI. So is a robot that can walk into a dangerous space a human should never enter. And China has explicitly named embodied AI as one of the engines it intends to grow its economy with. It was written directly into the country's latest 5-year plan, the national roadmap that kicked off in 2026, alongside priorities like advanced AI and next-generation networks. This is not a side project. It is national policy. Underneath that policy sits an enormous industrial base. Major clusters of robotics companies have formed in 3 big regions of China, and together they already include more than 24,000 companies, covering everything from the tiny core components inside a robot to full finished systems. That matters, because the thing that usually kills advanced hardware is not the idea. It is the supply chain. If you have to source every part from a different continent, you move slowly and you pay a fortune. If thousands of suppliers for every piece sit within a few hours of each other, you can iterate at a speed that competitors simply cannot match. That density is the hidden advantage behind the wall-climbing robot and behind everything coming after it. And there is a lot coming after it. The wall is just the beginning. The same wave that produced the welding robot is producing others aimed at exactly the same idea. Send the machine where the human should not go. There is a Chinese-built underwater robot now being used as a kind of subsea scout. It can inspect cables on its own at depths of up to 300 meters, working alongside unmanned boats on the surface, and it does the job around 10 times faster than the old manual methods. Cable inspection at that depth is slow, expensive, and dangerous for human divers. The robot just goes down and does it. There is a robot built for something as unglamorous as grain storage. Managing grain inside a giant silo is a genuinely hazardous task, because loose grain can behave like quicksand and bury a worker. This machine moves across the surface of the grain on special spiral wheels, and a team of 3 of them can level a 1,400 square meter silo in under a day. The same job done by 3 human workers takes 3 days, in conditions that can be deadly. See the pattern: welding tanks high in the air, inspecting cables deep underwater, leveling grain inside a silo that can swallow a person. Every one of these is a job defined by the fact that it is dangerous, exhausting, or simply impossible for a human to do safely. And the strategy is the same every time. Build a machine with a body and a brain. Put it in the dangerous place. Keep the human in a safe one. And let the machine get smarter every time it works. That is why the wall-climbing welder matters far more than its size suggests. It is not really a story about welding. It is a proof, sitting on the side of a chemical tank, that the contradiction has been beaten. That a machine can be strong enough to do hard physical work and stable enough to do it in a place that should be impossible to hold. Once that is true for a tank wall, the same principle reaches out to ship hulls, bridges, wind turbines, refineries, and every other structure where humans currently risk their lives to keep our world built and maintained. What comes next? So where does this actually land? In the near term, the realistic future is human and machine together. The robot takes the wall and the danger. The skilled worker takes the chair, the VR glasses, and the judgment, controlling the work without bleeding for it. The most experienced welders and inspectors do not disappear. They get pulled out of the wind and the dust and put somewhere they can work for a full career without their body paying the bill. In the longer term, as that brain keeps learning from every hour of every job, more of the routine work shifts to the machine on its own, and the human moves further up into oversight. How fast that happens is the open question, and it depends on cost, reliability, and how well these systems hold up across thousands of real jobs in messy real conditions, not clean demonstrations. But the thing that supposedly could not be done has been done. A 200-pound machine is clinging to a vertical steel wall, welding with one arm, scanning with the other, controlled by a person sitting safely indoors, and getting smarter with every pass. The contradiction that blocked this for decades is no longer a wall. It is a doorway, and a whole country has decided to walk through it on purpose. The conversation has quietly shifted. It is no longer about whether a robot can take the most dangerous jobs off of human shoulders. That part is settled. The only question left is how many of those jobs, and how soon. If this gave you something to think about, hit the like button and subscribe, because as these machines move from a handful of sites onto walls and hulls all over the world, there is a lot more of this story to tell. And I want to hear from you. If a machine could take over the most dangerous work in heavy industry, and let the skilled human run it from a safe room instead of risking their life on a wall, is that a future you want to see arrive faster, or one that worries you? Drop your answer in the comments below.